The unexpected encounter. The abandoned mining facility on Kepler 442b had been dead for 3 years. Its massive excavation tunnels stretched deep into the planet's crust like the roots of some mechanical tree. The air recyclers still hummed with stubborn efficiency, maintaining breathable atmosphere in the upper levels where rust-colored dust danced in shafts of alien sunlight. Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Survey Corps hadn't expected to find anyone alive in this forgotten corner of the galaxy. His reconnaissance mission was supposed to be routine, catalog the facility's salvageable resources and move on. Instead, he found himself face to face with the most wanted being in known space. She sat in what had once been the facility's main control room, her hands bound by energy restraints that cast purple light across her pale features. The ethereal empire called her the Void Empress, though Marcus knew her real name from classified intelligence briefings. Princess Lyra Nexus, heir to a civilization that had been waging war against humanity for 7 years. Her species, the Ethereals, were beings of living energy contained within crystalline bodies. When calm, they appeared almost human, except for the soft luminescence that flowed beneath their translucent skin like captured starlight. When agitated, that light could become a weapon capable of melting steel. Right now, she was perfectly still. Marcus approached slowly, his standard-issue plasma rifle trained on her motionless form. The facility's emergency lighting cast strange shadows across the room, making the abandoned control panels look like sleeping giants. His footsteps echoed in the silence, each sound amplified by the vast emptiness surrounding them. "Princess, Lyra Nexus," he said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "By the authority of the Terran Defense Coalition, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity." She looked up at him then, and Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Her eyes were the color of deep space, dark purple flecked with points, of silver light like distant stars. There was no fear in them, no anger or defiance, only curiosity, as if she were studying some fascinating specimen. "A human," she said, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance that seemed to vibrate in the air itself. "How interesting. Your species fascinates me." Marcus kept his weapon steady, though something about her tone made him want to lower it. "You're coming with me. My ship is docked at the facility's main bay." She tilted her head, the gesture almost childlike despite the regal bearing that marked her as royalty. The energy restraints around her wrists pulsed brighter, responding to some shift in her emotional state. "Tell me, human warrior, what is your name?" "That's classified information." A sound that might have been laughter escaped her lips, musical and strange. "You capture the most wanted fugitive in the galaxy, and you won't even tell her your name? Your people's customs are more peculiar than our intelligence report suggested." Marcus found himself studying her face, noting the delicate bone structure, the way her bioluminescent patterns shifted like aurora beneath her skin. She wasn't what he had expected. The intelligence briefings had described a ruthless commander who had personally overseen the destruction of 3 human colonies. This being seemed almost fragile despite the deadly power contained within her crystalline form. "Marcus," he said finally, then immediately regretted it. "Captain Marcus Chen." Her expression brightened, the light patterns under her skin taking on warmer hues. "Marcus. A strong name. It suits you." She paused, her star-flecked eyes never leaving his face. "Do you know why I'm here, Captain Chen? In this abandoned place, alone and defenseless?" "You tell me." The mining facility groaned around them, its aging structure settling with metallic sighs. Somewhere in the depths below, automated systems continued their endless cycles, maintaining a semblance of life in a place that had been forgotten by both civilizations. "I was waiting," she said simply, "for you." Impossible connections. The words hung in the recycled air between them like an impossible equation. Marcus felt his grip tighten on his weapon, though his tactical training warred with something deeper, more instinctive. The Void Empress, Lyra, continued to regard him with that unsettling combination of curiosity and recognition. "That's impossible," Marcus said, though his voice lacked conviction. "How could you know I was coming? This mission was classified at the highest levels." Lyra's restraints pulsed with brighter energy as she leaned forward slightly. The movement caused her bioluminescent patterns to shift, creating flowing designs that seemed to tell stories in languages Marcus couldn't understand. "Your people think in terms of logic and linear causality. My kind perceives existence differently." The facility's environmental systems chose that moment to cycle, filling the silence with the whisper of processed air. Marcus found himself lowering, his weapon, despite every protocol, screaming at him to maintain professional distance. There was something in her manner that suggested threat was the furthest thing from her mind. "Different how?" he asked, surprising himself with his genuine curiosity. "We experience time as you might experience color," she explained, her voice taking on an almost teaching quality. "Past, present, and future blend into patterns that speak of probability and potential. 3 days ago, I dreamed of a human warrior, with kind eyes and a name that means warlike in an ancient Earth tongue." Marcus stepped back involuntarily. His name did indeed derive from Mars, the Roman god of war, a fact he'd learned in childhood, but rarely thought about. Lucky guess. Was it luck that brought you to this exact facility at this exact moment? Lyra's eyes seemed to hold depths that had nothing to do with their physical structure. Or was it something else? Something your science cannot yet measure? The mining facility stretched around them like a monument to ambition and abandonment. Massive excavators sat silent in the lower levels, their drill heads still caked with alien soil. The upper levels, where they now stood, had been living quarters once, sleeping pods and recreation areas designed for the human workers who had called this place home before the war made such ventures impossible. Marcus found himself looking at the personal effects scattered around the abandoned control room. A coffee mug with "World's Best Dad" printed on its side. A holographic family photo that flickered occasionally, showing a woman and 2 children smiling at the camera. Someone's life, interrupted and never resumed. "The war," he said, gesturing at the evidence of human presence. "Your people did this, forced us to abandon places like this." Lyra's luminescence dimmed, taking on cooler, more mournful tones. "And your people have forced my kind to abandon much as well." "War is a conversation between civilizations, Captain Chen, though neither side seems to enjoy what the other is saying." She stood then, her movements graceful despite the energy restraints. The bonds didn't seem to impair her balance or coordination, merely contained the destructive potential of her natural abilities. "May I ask you something personal?" Marcus nodded, though he kept his distance. "Do you dream of places you've never been? Of faces you've never seen, yet somehow recognize?" The question hit him like a physical blow. For the past 3 years, Marcus had been plagued by recurring dreams featuring landscapes of crystal and light, cities that seemed grown rather than built, and always, at the center of these visions, a figure he could never quite see clearly, until now. "How did you know about my dreams?" Lyra's expression grew gentle, almost sad. "Because I have been dreaming of you as well, Marcus Chen. Of a human warrior who would stand in a place of abandonment and choose compassion over duty." The facility's automated systems hummed around them, a technological lullaby that seemed to emphasize their isolation. They were alone on this planet, representatives of warring civilizations. Yet Marcus felt something shifting in his understanding of the conflict that had defined his adult life. "This is impossible," he said again, but with less conviction than before. "Perhaps," Lyra agreed, "but impossibility is often just possibility wearing an unfamiliar face." Marcus found himself studying her again, the way she held herself with unconscious nobility, the patterns of light that played across her features like living art. Everything he'd been taught told him she was the enemy, a dangerous alien whose capture could turn the tide of the war. Everything he felt told him something entirely different. Revelations in the dark. The power failed without warning, plunging the control room into darkness broken only by Lyra's natural bioluminescence. Her body became a constellation in the blackness, patterns of soft blue and silver light that pulsed with her heartbeat. Marcus activated his suit's emergency illumination, casting harsh white beams across the abandoned facility. "Automated systems are failing," he said, checking his scanner. "This place is dying faster than the reports indicated." "Perhaps its time was simply coming to an end," Lyra replied softly. Her energy restraints flickered in the darkness, their power source struggling to maintain containment. All things must pass, even places built to last forever. Marcus moved to the nearest control panel, trying to restore basic life support. The screens that came online painted the situation in stark terms. Atmospheric processors operating at 30% efficiency, structural integrity compromised in 7 sectors, and radiation shielding failing in the lower levels. "We need to get to my ship," he said. "This facility won't be habitable much longer." But when he turned back to Lyra, her expression had changed. The gentle curiosity was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. Her bioluminescent patterns had shifted to deeper purples and blues, colors that seemed to speak of profound sadness. "I cannot leave this place, Marcus Chen. The radiation will kill you. Kill both of us if we stay much longer." She shook her head, the motion sending ripples of light across her features. "There are worse things than death. There are betrayals that echo across generations." Marcus approached slowly, his medical scanner detecting the energy fluctuations around her restraints. The bonds were designed to contain an ethereal's power, but they were also slowly poisoning her. Her life signs were weaker than they should be, her natural luminescence dimming with each passing hour. "Who did this to you?" he asked quietly. "My own people." The admission seemed to cost her something precious. "I came here seeking something they consider forbidden, a way to end this war without victory or defeat. My father's council declared such thoughts treasonous." The facility groaned around them, metal contracting as heating systems failed. Soon they would be trapped in a tomb of humanity's making, 2 beings whose civilizations had taught them to hate each other. "What did you find?" Marcus asked. Lyra looked at him with those impossible star-filled eyes. "I found you." The words should have sounded ridiculous, romantic nonsense in the face of imminent death. Instead, they felt like puzzle pieces clicking into place. Marcus thought of his dreams again, the crystal cities and the figure he could never quite see. He thought of the strange compulsion that had brought him to this facility ahead of schedule, against direct orders. "The dreams aren't random, are they?" he said. "My people call it the resonance," Lyra explained. "Consciousness creating patterns in space-time that others can perceive across vast distances. It's how our empire coordinates across the galaxy, through shared experience and emotional connection. And it works on humans?" Her luminescence brightened slightly, hope creeping into her expression. "It works on anyone capable of empathy, of looking beyond the surface of things to see the deeper patterns underneath." Marcus knelt beside her, studying the energy restraints. His engineering background suggested several ways to disable them, though doing so would be an act of treason that could cost him everything. "If I free you, what happens then?" I don't know, she admitted. The future grows cloudy when hope enters the equation. But I know what happens if you don't. We die here, and the war continues until both our civilizations burn. The facility shuddered as another system failed. Emergency lighting flickered on and off, creating a strobing effect that made Lyra's form seem to dance between dimensions. Marcus made his decision with the certainty of a man stepping off a cliff. His plasma cutter made quick work of the restraint mechanism. As the energy bonds dissolved, Lyra gasped, her entire body flaring with brilliant light before settling into a warm, steady glow. She flexed her fingers, watching energy dance between them like tame lightning. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet," Marcus replied, checking his readings. "We still need to get out of here alive." But as they prepared to leave the dying facility, neither of them noticed the small device that had been recording their conversation, its signal already transmitted across the galaxy to ears that would not welcome what they heard. Flight into the unknown Marcus's ship, the Perseverance, was a Terran survey vessel built for endurance rather than combat. Its sleek hull bore the scars of 7 years spent charting hostile territory, while its interior reflected the utilitarian efficiency that characterized human engineering. As they made their escape from the dying facility, Lyra moved through the cramped corridors with obvious fascination. "Your technology is so different from ours," she observed, running her fingers along the ship's bulkheads. Where she touched, the metal seemed to warm, reflecting her inner light in subtle patterns. Everything designed for function over beauty. Marcus piloted them away from Kepler 442b, the planet shrinking to a rust-colored dot in the view screen. "Beauty is a luxury when you're trying to survive." "Perhaps that's where our civilizations differ most fundamentally," Lyra said, settling into the co-pilot's seat. Her presence transformed the utilitarian bridge into something magical, her bioluminescence reflecting off every surface. "We create beauty because we must. Your people create function because you must." The ship's long-range scanners began detecting incoming signals, both human and ethereal vessels converging on their position. Marcus's act of mercy was about to have consequences that extended far beyond their personal situation. 8 ships, he reported grimly. 4 from each side. "Looks like our little meeting has attracted attention." Lyra studied the tactical display with the eye of someone born to command. "The ethereal vessels are from my father's personal fleet. The humans—" She paused, her expression growing troubled. "Those are not survey ships, Marcus. Those are warships of the line. Someone leaked our location." Marcus began plotting escape vectors, though the mathematics looked grim. The Perseverance might outrun 1 or 2 pursuers, but not an entire battle group. "We're not getting out of this system without a fight, unless we give them something more important to worry about." Marcus looked at her sharply. "What do you mean?" Lyra's hands moved across the ship's communication controls with surprising familiarity. "I'm going to broadcast on all military frequencies, human and ethereal. If our meeting was significant enough to draw fleets from both sides, perhaps, it's significant enough to change everything." The transmission that followed would be analyzed by historians for generations. Speaking in both languages, switching between human English and the musical tones of ethereal communication, Lyra addressed both fleets directly. "Warriors of 2 proud civilizations," she began, her voice carrying across space with the authority of royal birth and the passion of desperate hope. "We stand at a crossroads that will define the future of our species. For 7 years, we have taught our children to fear each other, to see only enemies where we might see brothers." On the tactical display, the approaching ships began to slow, their commanders apparently as surprised as Marcus by this unexpected development. "I am Lyra Nexus, heir to the ethereal throne, and I stand beside Marcus Chen, a human warrior whose kindness has shown me what we might become if we choose understanding over conquest." Marcus watched in amazement as responses began flooding. "The communication channels. Voices in both languages, some angry, some confused, but all listening. The dreams that brought us together are shared by others, Lyra continued. In the deepest parts of your minds, you have felt the pull of connection across the void. Consciousness seeking consciousness, intelligence recognizing intelligence, life calling to life. One of the human ships, a heavy cruiser by its signature, broke formation and accelerated toward them. Marcus's blood ran cold as he recognized the vessel's identification. The Retribution, commanded by Admiral Sarah Hayes, his former mentor, and the woman who had recruited him into the Survey Corps. "Marcus," Lyra said quietly, noting his reaction. "Who is that?" "Someone who won't be interested in diplomatic solutions." The communication board lit up with an incoming transmission. Admiral Hayes's weathered face appeared on the screen, her expression a mixture of disappointment and fury. "Captain Chen," she said without preamble, "you will surrender the enemy combatant immediately and prepare to be taken into custody for court-martial proceedings." Marcus looked at Lyra, seeing in her star-filled eyes not an enemy, but a future worth fighting for. "Admiral Hayes, I respectfully decline." "Marcus." Hayes's voice cracked like a whip. "That creature has killed thousands of our people. Whatever hold she has over you, she has no hold over me," Marcus interrupted. "I'm making this choice freely, based on what I've seen and what I believe to be possible." Around them, the other ships continued to hold position, creating a standoff that could explode into violence at any moment. But something had changed. In the equation, Lyra's broadcast had introduced an element that neither side had prepared for: hope. The price of peace. The standoff in space above Kepler 442b lasted 3 hours and 17 minutes, long enough for word to spread across both empires, long enough for the galaxy to hold its breath. Marcus and Lyra sat in the Perseverance's small galley, sharing ration packs and watching the tactical display as history decided what shape it wanted to take. "Do you regret it?" Lyra asked. Her luminescence dimmed to a soft glow that reflected her fatigue. The energy restraints had taken more out of her than she'd initially admitted. "Which part?" Marcus replied, though he knew what she meant. "All of it. Freeing me, standing against your own people, choosing to believe in something that might be impossible." Marcus considered the question seriously. Through the ship's hull, he could feel the weight of 16 warships holding position, their weapons trained on each other and on them. His career was over, his reputation destroyed, his future uncertain. By any rational measure, he had lost everything. "No," he said, finally. "I don't regret it." The communication board chimed with an incoming transmission. This time, the signal bore ethereal encryption codes that made Lyra straighten in recognition. "My father," she whispered. The holographic projector shimmered to life, revealing a being of obvious majesty and terrible anger. Emperor Nexus was larger than his daughter, his crystalline form crackling with barely controlled energy. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "Daughter," he said, the single word heavy with disappointment, "you will cease this madness immediately and return to face judgment for your crimes against the Empire." Lyra stood, her own luminescence flaring in response to her father's presence. "Father, I have found something more valuable than victory. I have found hope. You have found weakness," the Emperor replied coldly, "and you have shamed our bloodline with your pathetic display of emotion toward a human animal." Marcus felt anger flare in his chest at the casual dismissal, but Lyra's hand on his arm kept him silent. This was her battle to fight. "Look around." "You, father," she said, gesturing toward the tactical display. 16 ships holding their fire because of what Marcus and I represent. For the first time in 7 years, human and ethereal vessels sharing the same space without immediately trying to destroy each other. A temporary aberration that will be corrected. Will it? Lyra's voice grew stronger, more confident. How many of your warriors have dreamed of crystal cities they've never seen? How many humans have felt the pull of connection across empty space? The resonance doesn't recognize the boundaries we've drawn between our species. Emperor Nexus's form flickered with what might have been uncertainty. Even if what you claim is true, the war has gone too far. Too much blood has been spilled, too many grievances accumulated. Peace is a luxury neither side can afford. Then we make it affordable, Marcus said, speaking for the first time to the ethereal emperor. We start small, with individual connections, and build from there. The emperor's attention focused on him like a laser. You dare address me directly, human? I dare because someone has to, Marcus replied evenly. Because the alternative is watching both our civilizations destroy each other while the real threats in this galaxy prepare to pick through the wreckage. For a long moment, silence filled the channel. Then, unexpectedly, the Emperor laughed, a sound like crystal bells in a windstorm. You have courage, human warrior. Foolish courage, perhaps, but courage nonetheless. His expression grew thoughtful. Very well. We will attempt what you suggest. A small beginning, one human ship and one ethereal vessel working together on a joint mission. If you succeed in proving that cooperation is possible, we will consider expanding the program. Admiral Hayes's voice cut across the channel, her image appearing beside the Emperor's. Sir, I cannot recommend— Admiral, Marcus interrupted. How many of your crew have reported unusual dreams in the past year? Hayes's expression flickered with surprise. That's classified information. It's not classified anymore, Marcus replied. It's the foundation of everything we're trying to build. The next few hours passed in a blur of negotiations, agreements, and the careful choreography of ships standing down from battle readiness. In the end, Marcus found himself assigned to an experimental joint crew aboard a modified survey vessel, with Lyra as his co-commander and cultural liaison. As they prepared to depart on their first mission, investigating strange energy readings, in a system claimed by neither empire, Marcus looked at his alien partner and marveled at how much had changed in a single day. So, he said as they settled into the command chairs of their new ship, what do you think we'll find out there? Lyra's bioluminescence brightened with something that looked suspiciously like excitement. Probably something impossible, she replied. But isn't that what makes exploration worthwhile? Around them, the ship hummed with the harmonious blend of human engineering and ethereal energy manipulation. It was a sound neither species had heard before. The sound of cooperation, of two ways of seeing the universe learning to work together. The sound of hope.